Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Press. We're reaching you live from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we'll go straight to analyzing the stories that we read out to you earlier. But before then, remember that our phone lines are open now, so you can call in to make your contributions or ask your questions. And like I always remind you, turn down the volume of your TV set or move away from it, and you have every caller has got only 60 seconds. 1 minute to all callers. We have Richard Oriri, who is a journalist, to help us to analyze on the stories that we read out to you before we went on that show to pray. Great to have you on the show today. Happy Workers' Day.
Happy Workers' Day to you.
Happy Workers' Day to you, Mr.
Happy
Richard.
month. Happy New Day.
Happy New Month. Happy Workers' Day.
Happy
everything.
You're always happy in Nigeria.
You don't get tired of celebration.
Exactly. You're talking about celebrations and then getting tired of something. Vanguard newspaper says May Day, it has been terrible and agonizing for workers, and that's coming from the Nigeria Labour Congress. And the writer to that story says, as workers in oil, electricity, maritime, other sectors grieve over continuous misery, poverty and hopelessness. And then they're asking the federal government to address poverty, insecurity, unemployment, inflation, high cost of living, and then set agenda for new incoming government. That's quite a lengthy request coming from them. And then I also saw in another paper, I can't remember which one exactly, but then another paper, okay, that's on the Guardian newspaper, says workers lament 8 years of unkept promises as minimum wage loses value. I'd like you to tie this together. There's an increase in the minimum wage, 40% increase, and then some workers are saying that what would that even do? 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, before now, rice was less than 10,000 naira, but now you have to buy a bag of rice for over 20,000 naira, 30,000 naira in some places. So if you're increasing the minimum wage 30,000, how much would that even do in this day in Nigeria?
Happy Workers' Day, Nigerians. Happy Workers' Day, Annabel.
Happy Workers' Day to you too.
In fact, the issue of workers in the country has been a very serious issue that bothers all of us as citizens. And today we are still here to talk about Nigerian workers. In the past 8 years, before the present administration came on board, they hinged their campaign slogan on workers' welfare. And here we are on the threshold of the next government, and the present administration is about to quitting the seat, and workers are still aggrieved in the country. And if you want to tag the corruption that has gone so deep in the fabrics of our political and administrative system, you will see very well that is all coming from the angle of workers not being taken care of. And the number of Nigerian workers very high, so enormous than the number of politicians coming to take charge of our political system for the past 8 years. But nobody is taking into consideration the welfare of Nigerian workers. And their complaint kept going up every day. And we are seeing it so glaring that their complaints are genuine. The other time, the current administration made promise of upgrading the salaries of Nigerian workers from was it 30%? They agreed, and that agreement has not been kept up till now. And last 2 weeks or so, or last month, it was said that 40% again approved by the president, and the implementation is still what all of us we are still looking up to see whether it will be implemented. And you see, when outgoing administration like this is always in this form, once they see that they are exiting, they will come up with policies to really see whether how do I even put it, come up with policies that the incoming administration will inherit from them. While when they were still on seat, they don't think of anything reasonable in that direction. And this approval that the current administration has given to Nigerian workers now is giving everybody hope But the implementation is another thing that we'll have to talk about. Nigerian workers today, if you go to Eagle Square now, you will see what is going on there. Initially, they put application that they want to use Eagle Square, but they thought it would be used for political reasons. So they toned it down. Then possibly one or two things was considered, and they have to reverse their step to say Nigerian laborers NLC should still make use of Eagle Square. And to be frank, Nigerian workers are not being taken good care of. Okay, now,
Mr. Richard, you made mention of the fact that whenever a particular administration is winding down, they begin to come up with certain policies that the incoming administration will inherit from them. But then, if you look at the 40% increase in workers' salary, of which, by the way, it doesn't cut across all the members of the civil service, all the ministries, it doesn't cut across. There are some, according to news, there are some paramilitary agencies that are not beneficiaries of this 40% increase. That's on one side, and on the other side, we look at the inflation rate. If we look at the inflation rate and juxtapose it with the 40% increment, it makes mockery of the purpose of what the 40% increment is supposed to serve. Now, this is coming less than a month before the exit of the current administration. On the other hand, the subsidy removal has been suspended. How workable do you think this policy, how sustainable can it be for the incoming administration? Because one of the major excuses why successive governments have given to Nigerians why there cannot be much increase in the salaries, in the take-home pay of workers, is the humongous amount the Nigerian government keeps paying on subsidy every month.
My brother, this current administration, if you look at it very critically, you will see very well that they have exhausted all they think they have to offer Nigerians, and the inconsistency in some of their policies shows clearly that they have nothing much again to offer. The other time it was 30%, this time now it's 40%, and this 40% doesn't go round the entire cadre of Nigeria civil service. That shows clearly to me and to some other analysts on the street that they don't have focus, and they don't have real economic arrangement on what to do to resolving this continuous complaint from the civil service in Nigeria. But I hope that the incoming administration is somebody, the president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is someone who knows how to turn around things of this nature, and I pray he come up with a serious policy that will permanently resolve the issue of civil service in it. Like 2 days or 3 days ago, I sent for a local rice. Before this administration in 2014, the administration came on board in 2015. Rice, 50 kg bag of rice was sold for about 7,000 something naira, and along the line it got up to 9, 11, 14, 15, continuously going up. About 4 days ago, I sent for a 50 kg bag of rice because I eat local rice. I don't eat foreign rice in my house. I sent for a 50 kg bag of rice and it was sold for 32,000 naira. And they have to transport it, put it in a local vehicle from Otukpo to Abuja here for like 5,000 naira. If you put everything together, it's about 37,000 naira. You get a 50 kg bag of rice. There's not every civil servant in this country that can afford that. And I have seen so many of my friends who are graduates that were opportune to be given a federal government job. Their salary take home pay is not to 60,000 naira, it's about 50-something thousand. If you calculate that for 30 days, they transport to work, they have to feed, they have families, they have to pay rent, and there's no vehicle, no transport allowance to them. So in all of this, the Nigerian civil servants, they are really facing a lot of challenges, and until we are able to resolve these issues, corruption will not go down. Now we are having, we are to before by May, June 13th now. June 13th, the new National Assembly will be inaugurated, and after inauguration, these are the people that will have to work hand in hand with the civil service. And in working with them, why would they not corrupt the elected officials? They will corrupt them. And the incoming president, Bola Tinubu, he will have to employ the services of politicians who will serve as ministers, directors of different agencies. But brother, it's still the same civil service, civil servants that will work with them. If their take-home pay is not anything to talk about, why would they not corrupt the politicians? And at the end, we keep saying corruption, corruption, corruption. Until civil servants are being taken care of, corruption will not go down in Nigeria.
All right, now, Mr. Richard, there is this, you just talked about until the fact that civil servants are being taken care of, their welfare is looked into. But then, majority of Nigerian civil servants, when you talk about welfare, they just see it from the angle of increase our salaries, increase our salary, but there's a whole lot more that goes into the welfare of civil servants than just the salary increment. You can talk about the health insurance, the retirement plans. The retirement plans from the federal government. We can talk about the accommodation. We still, till this very moment, we still see some directors retiring in the Nigerian civil service without a decent home to go back to. It's still happening. But then I want us to. We've talked so much about the civil servants, the federal government workers. They are not. That's just a portion of the mechanisms that runs the Nigerian economy. There is the private sector. And in all of these, I think it seems like the private sector has been shoved behind. What policies, what arrangement can the government put in place to ensure inclusiveness of the private sector, of the workers in the private sector?
Presently, as we speak in the country, the private sector, they are well taken care of. The only thing the private sector needs from Nigerian government is just security and constant power supply. Once there is constant power supply, the private sector will have nothing to talk about.
How about taxes?
Taxes, yes, they cannot go beyond the stipulated amount that should be deducted as tax from the workers at the private sector. The private sector all over the world, the angle they looked at that government should assist them is power supply. Once there's power supply, there's security. They don't care whether government exists or the government doesn't exist again.
But don't you think that multiple taxes also halt their businesses?
There will be no multiple tax if there are no criminals going from behind to taxing them. They know quite well before you venture into any business. You know already that as you are going into this business, taxes are involved. There is what we call a pay as you earn. Pay as you earn, and you will equally pay ground rent to government. All those things will be taken care of, and the private sector, they know how to even pay the tax before they make their profit. As you go to buy anything from them, there's tax involved. You pay tax.
So doesn't that affect you as the end user?
Yes, it affects all of us as citizens. If you go to any supermarket now to buy anything, there's tax attached to whatever you are buying. Even these phone calls we are making, Glo, MTN and all of that, tax is attached to it. You pay tax.
Yeah, but then
so from what you pay, they put everything together and pay government part of it, and they still make profit from our head. So the private sector, they know how to handle their tax policy. The only thing that, if you look at it now, most of our friends that work in the private sector, their salaries are better than those who are in government. The only advantage is that the people in government, those who are civil servants working directly with government, majority of them, because of the corruption we are talking about, they don't even rely much on their salary. They rely more on what they gain outside salary.
Outside the salary.
At least if you are going for a workshop, like now, like March, first a quarter, there should be training and workshop and all the other things. They will fix your names and allowances will be paid to you, and you get something from there. And so there are a lot they gain from a lot to gain as a public as a public servant. There's a lot to gain, but in the private sector, you are only relying on your salary, and that is why you see that their salary is high. So private sector that you don't even think they pay so much. If you go, you see that their workers earn nothing less than 350,000-400,000 naira. Why graduates of that level, let's say BSc holder, earning over 300,000 naira in the private sector, coming to the public sector, you see their salary is even less than 70,000 naira, than 50 something or 60,000 naira in the public sector. So the private sector, they are doing very well. They are doing very well. But the only thing that is their major challenge in Nigeria is security and lack of a power supply, because they invest most of their profits, they channel it towards providing electricity for themselves, and which is not good for a country like this. In our economy, is not good at all, and that is why you see some private driven individuals, they are now pulling off from Nigeria. Majority of the foreign companies coming into Nigeria, investors going that were in the country before now, majority of them have moved to a country like Ghana and other countries within the African region,
especially in the hospitality sector.
You understand?
All right, let's leave that story and move to other stories very quickly. As the Vanguard newspaper says, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, federal government apologizes over failure to meet deadline. Recall that a few days ago the federal government is supposed to deliver on that promise, on that project, but then they're apologizing with so many excuses why they're not able to deliver on that project. And then the flip side, two questions, and I'd like you to take them in one breath. Daily Trust says we are ready for census, awaiting Tinubu. That's coming from NPC. So now you have the new administration. They have a lot of things to grapple with, aside from insecurity, aside from workers asking for, having requests. But then we have Lagos Ibadan Expressway, which has become nightmarish. Apart from the traffic that it's causing there now, hoodlums have decided to take that as their business center, and the federal government is giving excuses why they have not been able to deliver on their promises. So don't you think that we should have an administration that will put people on their toes? If you're supposed to deliver on the promise on this day, there should be no excuses like okay, so the flood came and then wash away some sand and then some cement, so that's why we're not able to do. I'm just giving that as an example. So we should have people that are proactive and not people that will come and give excuses. Same thing for the census. We're supposed to have census a few days, that's on 3rd of May, but it was shifted, and then they say they're waiting for the next administration. So
taking it from the Lagos Ibadan Expressway, government all over the world is a continuous process, and if the present administration has apologized for not delivering on its promises to Nigerians by not being able to deliver the road project as promised to the country, I think the apology is accepted, and I pray that the incoming administration, the incoming government, will take it up from wherever they have stopped. But most
let's really take this call before we go ahead. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Hello, good morning. I have to let you go. Like I said, turn down the volume of your TV set before you call us.
Now, what is happening in the contract area, this procurement issue in the country, why sometimes government don't meet up and all of that. Any contract given to any company in this country, the people who are in charge on our behalf, they have their percentage from whatever amount the contract award is. And most times when this money are released to these companies, the percentage to these individuals will definitely be deducted as source. And the little amount left now get to the contractors to carry out this project is always a problem for them. And that's why most times you will see, like what is happening now, I don't think is anything different from what I'm saying. There's so much that was invested on that road, but if you look at it well, out of 100%, maybe 60% have been taken off. And the remaining one, maybe even the total amount made for that project may have not been paid, or possibly 70% or 80% have been paid, the remaining 20%. But out of what they have released so far,
about
the individuals involved, who are politicians, they have their percentage out of it, which I know very well that they will not leave it for the contractors. They must have taken it. That is one.
Please hold your thoughts on this, on that first one, and let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, my dear.
All right, good morning, sir. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Please turn down the volume of your TV set. We can hear ourselves.
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning. I am Paul calling from Ebonyi State.
Paul from Ebonyi State. Go ahead, very quickly.
It's all right. I've done that. I am happy on the course of discourse on your television, KAFTAN, the best television I have seen.
Thank you so much, Paul from Ebonyi State.
Thank you so much. The federal government is apologizing on about Lagos Road. Where will they start from apologizing? What have they to say about the insurgency? What have they to say about the lack of power supply, which Buhari said he's going to tackle when he said? What have they got to say about the financial aspect, about the NNPC and the corruption? Look at who is the Minister for Petroleum? Who are we going to ask to give us account of the petroleum? He is the Minister for Petroleum. And I know the incoming commission shouldn't do the line of Buhari. How can the president become a president and become a minister, come president? It is a corruption in the highest order. Let us, and look at the way, look in the point state, where I'm coming from. Go and ask those that are working in the university. They are not prepared since February till now. And we're talking about corruption. I don't really know the type of government we have in this country. They are not caring about the workers. Look at the way we are celebrating Workers' Day today. But look at us. All of us are sitting at home. No money, no salary is paid. We're not happy about this. We pray that the incoming government will not do the same line. Thank you very much.
Amen. Thank you so much, Paul, for that contribution. It's really heart-wrenching, really sad story.
If you see on the issue of census, yes, NPC, they have come up to say, to tell Nigerians the reasons for the postponement, and to me, their reasons are not genuine. Why will you postpone the census? Because you want the incoming administration to be fully involved in whatever you are doing.
As an agency, all the money that has been spent already.
That is politics. Our problem in the country is that we play too much politics than facing governance. If you have fixed date for census is a very, very critical sector of any country. Any country that have good ideas for his citizens and for the growth and development of the country, you take census very serious. Like if you walk straight as a citizen now to the present President Muhammadu Buhari, to tell you the number of students in Nigerian federal universities, he can't tell you. If you ask President Muhammadu Buhari now to tell you the number of children below the age of 0 to 18 years in this country. Doesn't have the data. From 18 to 45, he doesn't have the data. If you don't have data of your citizen, how will you plan for them? We are talking about the age. You just made mention of how civil servants will work for 35 years, so 60 years of age, and get retired. And as they are going home, there is nothing to fall back to. In advanced countries of the world, you will see that there is arrangement already for the aged. They have government-built homes where retired civil servants, they call them senior citizens, where they keep them, taking good care of them. If such arrangement is in place in this country, I don't think the corruption will be the way it is. Since NPC coming up to tell us because they want the incoming administration to be fully participating in the process is the reason they are postponing census. We are not, personally as a citizen, I'm not happy for that announcement made by NPC.
All right, thank you, Mr. Richard. You've expressed your opinion personally. You're not happy by that release by the National Populations Commission because our time is fast spent now, and there's no way we can do this program today without talking about the ordeal of stranded Nigerian students in Sudan, in war-torn Sudan at the moment. And in that regard, the Nigerian ambassador to Sudan has warned stranded Nigerian students not to attack embassy staff, not to attack the members of embassy staff in Sudan. And if you look at this, it tells you that all is not well as regards the evacuation process currently going on. Not to forget the what the CEO of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri, saying that they had some obstacles at the Egyptian border, where the Egyptian authorities refused to open their borders to the Nigerian Nigerians on just arriving from Sudan. Now it brings the question: what has happened to all the bilateral relationships the Nigerian government has with the Egyptian government? What has happened to all of our bilateral ties? If they know very well, they know quite well that they are arriving they're arriving from another country, in a war-torn country, and just to arrive in their country, use their country as a transit route back to their own country.
It's a sad situation in Sudan for Nigerian students, and to me, I overheard Abike Dabiri saying something the other day, and I really have to fall in line with what she said. We have a Ministry for Disaster Management and Humanitarian Affairs in this country, and I think all these have to be in place before now. We don't have proactive people in government. We only have people who react to issues when they occur, and that has been a major challenge in this country. If there is proactive measure, okay, unforeseen circumstances, there should be arrangement on ground for this kind of a thing happening. What if this happen in the future? How do we tackle it? If there is an arrangement like that, I think all this will not take place. And by now, how many of these students are there in Sudan? Nigerian students who are in Sudan, they are not much. Now I heard this person, the peace man owner, he offered to evacuate Nigerian students in Sudan for free. What has happened? Why has he not done that? Who is involved in the delay of allowing Onyama to evacuate Nigerians from Sudan? Politics.
But even Dangote has also
offered. You understand? Politics. This person, those in government, they will think if this person should do this, he will take the glory, and for that reason, we have why are you endangering Nigerian students' life outside the country when there are individuals in their private sector trying to assist in the country? Politics is the issue, and until we put politics aside and face governance, I pray the people coming on board now to take over from President Muhammadu Buhari don't see politics to be the major issue, but what they should be looking at is governance.
All right, so before we actually leave that story, and then we also heard that some of the people that were not evacuated was because they've not been documented or they were not fully registered. So my fear is, or my thought is, do we actually leave them to die there because they are not registered or they are not documented, despite the humongous amount of money that was earmarked to evacuate these people, and then the excuses and talks we've been hearing with regards to the buses and all? It's
documentation in what aspect? Does it mean they don't have a passport? They don't have passport? How do they find their way out of the country in the first instance? How do they get into that country without passport? That's one of the issues we have in Africa as a whole. Porous borders. People jump into different countries without even without being properly checked. These porous borders is an issue that has been on ground before now and is still on ground, and that is one of the major reasons we are having insecurity all over African region. If you see the level of security, the insecurity across Africa today is as a result of porous borders. If they have no passport, what level of documentation are they talking about? Are they taking their details before they evacuated them? Or how? I don't understand the area you are talking about documentation. What kind of documentation? Are they not Nigerians? If they are Nigerians, they have passport. If they have Nigerian passport, it will clearly show there that this is Nigerian citizen with your own passport. But without passport, there may be doubt that whether you are not in Nigeria, you are from another country but claiming Nigeria. If it is that kind of a documentation, then fine, we'll have to look into what aspect of documentation are they talking about.
All right, before we let you go, just in 1 minute, if you can actually help us, our time is fast spent. Daily Trust says drunk choir police officer excrete in uniform, CP orders arrest. Shouldn't we be checking the kind of people that we bring in our points as security officials? And
just quickly before you respond to that, you may want to respond to the two questions at once. Secondly, this question, we are already in the inauguration month for the new administration, and one question that will be on the lips of every Nigerian and every politician will be the 10th Senate, the 10th National Assembly, and the race for the leadership is beginning to heat up, and some people are already projecting a particular region deserves it, a particular region deserves it. You may want to respond to the both questions.
So that Daily Trust says drunk Kwara police officer excrete in his uniform. The CP orders arrest. 1 minute, please.
It's all over. Nigerian police, if you go to beer parlors now, you see them with uniform and guns. They're sitting in beer parlors and drinking. So the NDLEA boss have said it. Anybody that should be recruited into any force at all in the country, they have to check your drug. You have to be checked before. If you are a drug addict, you are not supposed to go in. Even politicians, it's an embarrassment. You are not supposed to use uniform to even drink. Talk more of urinating inside your Nigerian color, Nigerian flag, with that uniform, you are representing Nigeria. If that embarrassment is coming from this person should be seriously dealt with, so that other persons will take correction from him. And going to this leadership tussle in the National Assembly, yes, 29th May, executive across Nigeria, governors and the president and all of them, they will take over position to lead us from 29th of this month. And on the 13th, National Assembly will inaugurate, the National Assembly will be inaugurated. The position is clearly shown. We have 6 zones in the country, 6 geopolitical zones. And out of these 6 geopolitical zones, presidents have emerged from the southwest, and vice president have emerged from this northeast. So the remaining other 4 principal positions, which is Senate President and Deputy Senate President, Speaker of the House of Reps and Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps. If Senate President go to South and South take it, then Deputy Senate President have to come from North Central. And if we come to North Central, then we now talk about Speaker of the House of Reps. If we come to Speaker of House of Reps, definitely Speaker will not go to South again. Speaker will have to come to North if Senate President have gone to South. If Speaker come to the North, we have 3 zones in the North. If Vice President is already in this Northeast, and Deputy Senate President is already in the North Central, then the Speaker have to go to Northwest.
All right.
You get my point? And this Speaker go to Northwest. Regional zone again, it will be qualified. If Senate President go to South, then Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps have to go to Southeast.
All right.
For balancing and inclusion. That is all about democracy. Democracy is all about inclusion. So all the zones, the political zones, have to be carried along.
Thank you so much, Richard. It's always a pleasure having this talk with you. All right, viewers, let's go straight to our social media corner. Our time is fast spent. We'll take this video, especially coming from a donut seller who really gory side. So you should be careful of what you buy outside. We'll take that video and come to take more on social media trends.
People still eat.
Be careful of what you buy outside. Be careful of what you eat outside. If you're not sure of it, please just take food from your house. Really, that was off. I just remember when my mom would always say, don't eat outside. These are things that they were actually talking about. We'll take this next video. It's from secondary school children, or students rather, who buys a new Lexus car. They just begin to wonder, how you bring it to school for your principal to see? Really? Let's see that video and take more on social media. When children or students bring in a new car and you don't ask questions, you just begin to wonder. JAMB came out with some result, and then you find out that a lot of Yahoo boys in the streets right now, nobody wants to go to school, and then parents don't ask questions. How did you get the money to buy that car?
You know, Annabel, very quickly, I remember back then when I was in primary school, secondary school, if you come home with, my mom in particular, if I come back home with a pen that she didn't buy for me, I have to provide an acceptable explanation how I got that very pen. So it's really worrisome now to see sites like this. And I was reading on the internet. I say that in Edo State, in some parts of Ogun State now, where mothers whom their children are into this internet fraud, then they are now have an association. It's really disheartening.
Really disheartening. All right, let's take our last video, and this one is from someone who jackpot to Europe and says that he is in a very poor state. So if you're jackpotting, know how to jackpot and jackpot rightly. We'll take that video and come to conclude on the show. Like I said, if you have to jackpot rightly, make sure that you have well arranged plans before you leave. That's where we'll leave it on the show this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and to all those who called in, we appreciate your call. Thank you so much. I'll see you again next time. Keep watching KAFTAN TV. My name is Annabel Orji.
And I am Francis Adeniyi. You do have a beautiful day ahead.